Well, this calls for a celebration. I will.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 20 of NERDcast. Quite a momentous occasion. My name is Lee, and I'm joined on our... What's the 20th? It wouldn't be like... It would be, It's not centennial, it's 100. Anyway,
20th.
I'm joined by Will.
Hello.
And Danny.
Hello.
And we tried to get Mark for a follow-up, but it appeared that he dematerialized in front of our eyes, disintegrated, some might say.
Mark didn't even say yes or no. We
He's
just asked
returned
him.
to his dimension.
We just asked him and he was gone.
Like a foul wind.
So yes, but
he went away in his driverless car.
This is our 20th episode, and I'm going to say that with an asterisk, all right? Because
For obvious reasons.
we had several lost episodes.
Pretty
and
sure we had
I believe a miscalculation.
Episode
Pretty sure
4.
we've had at least a month of lost episodes.
So it's the unofficial 20th episode, I guess, or something?
Well,
yeah, so it's just 1/5 of all of our episodes. Oh god, no, it's a quarter.
When we relaunched, I said, the actual numerical system be damned. This is the number of episodes we have. So, it is the 20th episode. Yay!
Yay, it's the 20th one we've recorded.
It might not even be that, but so I thought we would discuss some of our favorite moments in recording the podcast. So, does anybody have anything that jumps to mind immediately that they want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start, and this is a testament to how far we've come along. The entirety of last episode was pure gold.
Yeah.
Like, we all knew with Mark coming back, it was going to be a monumental episode, but just we've gone off on tangents before, and it happens every episode. But when we went off on that bear tangent for the driverless cars,
That was just beautiful.
I have never laughed more in my life. And I was just telling you two earlier, like, people were looking at me on campus when I was listening to that because I was just laughing so hard. Especially when it got to like the implications to pizza delivery, and like when you go on your rant about how it's just at your driveway, like, and he was like, who are you gonna pay the tip to? Give it to the bear. I'm not gonna trust the bear with my money. What are you, mad?
I had a really good time editing that, just because I was remembering everything. I was howling the whole time, so that was a good moment.
Just every episode. Oh yeah, that, like, we always talk about highlights from each episode, but that episode was just one long highlight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one moment. I have many, but if you guys want to go with yours now.
That is my biggest moment by far.
What, the last episode?
Yeah, last episode is one of my favorites. Another one I actually found somewhat entertaining was the very, very first episode right at the start, where we start recording and we don't know what we're going to call the podcast.
Really? I don't even remember back then.
Yeah, the start of episode 1, we're just, talking and like, we should probably come up with the name for it. Like, NERDcast, with a capital Nerd.
And thus, our brand was born.
Oh wait,
Brand.
I have another favorite moment.
My brand!
Shepard, come do my shit for me.
I was getting to that one. Shepard, do my shit for me.
You said that the other day. Were you playing? Or I don't know if it was just me and Will were playing at that time, or if you were with us, Danny. But you said that
I don't think I was there.
Mass Effect the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were talking about Omegas too.
Yeah, I think so.
And at that moment,
we're
Arya
talking-
is no longer an Asari. She is a I can't even.
Grandmother.
Yeah, we were talking about doing devices.
75-year-old pedophile.
Well,
Yeah, we're talking about doing devices.
Oh yeah, but technically the the Asari timeline. I don't know how old Arya is, but the Asari timeline could work. That one could be theoretically Shepard's great grandmother.
Great.
Technically, it would still only be his mother, but it would be the age equivalent of that.
Yes.
But I think that some of my favorites. I like the spoiler casts that we've done so far.
Oh, the Mass Effect and you guys, your Walking Dead.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the way we set it up. How we just like it's really conversational, and I have a good time. And I want to do another one, but we haven't.
The Mass Effect one has our most views. I should say it actually has a comment from someone who we don't know.
I wasn't even there for that one either.
I don't think you would beat it at that point, Will. So that's why we didn't have you.
No, I think I had beat it, but I was busy doing something else at home. Maybe.
Okay.
I still have yet to listen to the Walking Dead one, so.
That's because you have to finish The Walking Dead, Danny.
Because I have to have time to finish the Walking Dead, Will.
Well, you should be doing your homework then, Danny.
That's what I'm doing right now while we're doing this.
Yeah, and we had good highlights out of some of the Walking Dead one. I won't say them, but there were two good ones. Yeah, a couple good moments that I remember that we were saying. But I think the success of the Mass Effect one was just because it was right at the time when everyone was talking about the indoctrination theory and how they were there were so many things going on. There was just so much controversy that, I don't know, we kind of benefited from that. And usually I hate when people do that, just kind of like cash in on, oh, this is the popular topic, so I'm going to talk about it, even if I have nothing important to say. So yeah, but we had something. Well, we wanted to talk about it, and it just so happened to be relevant. So
I actually have a low light we can talk about.
Oh, no. A low light?
Yeah, it was when we had this great topic. We all researched it. We were ready to go, and then we brought Dave on as our co-host for that, our special guest, and he completely tore our topic apart.
That was one of the Lost episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No. It's there because he came in late. He came in like 45 minutes in. I think it was like episode 4 or something, because it's the picture on for a video is the spy picture with Dave penciled in that you drew.
Oh yeah, the extent of my Photoshop abilities.
Yeah.
You remember what our topic was, though?
No, I don't. It's something. I think it had to do with like piracy or something like that.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
Maybe along those lines, but I wouldn't say that was like a low light, because we kind of got put in our place there pretty quickly.
Badly.
But another highlight, which is not over, because I definitely will figure this out, is Lee, I did not play Uncharted 3 multiplayer with you.
Then who did I play with? Did Uncharted 2 have multiplayer?
Yes, we played Uncharted 2 together.
And that might be what I'm thinking of. That I might not have even played Uncharted 3.
Well, then what is the argument about then? Because I actually legitimately put in Uncharted 3 over the weekend to see if the PSN Pass thing has been activated. I go on 250, 300 gigabyte update, so that immediately clicked in my head. I haven't played this game since like November of last year.
Did you just say a 250 gig update?
Meg.
I was going to say.
No.
We just put Uncharted and then sequels from 7 to 14 in this update.
I'm going to find 14. Out. I'm going to get solid proof whether or not we played.
It might have been 2.
All right, Will, what are your favorite moments?
I really think we've covered most of my favorite moments. Strangely enough, some of my favorite moments come from the stuff we talk about off recording camera.
Oh, you mean like the before and after of the episodes?
Yeah.
Like what we were talking about literally right before the show here today?
Yeah, my eyes are still a bit damp from laughter before then. Maybe that's a yawn. I'm sure.
Listeners will never know what we were talking about.
Unless we get bored and decide to talk about it again.
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
High school gym class.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh.
But,
it's your only clue, listeners.
I'm trying to think of I like the first couple episodes. I don't even remember anything that we talked about. I'm gonna have to watch them again.
Well, remember, like, the first 2 episodes we did, like, we started this back when we were in first year college university. Because, like, we had a graduation. We all took that picture where we all looked like international spies.
Which is awesome.
Which is still, like, the best picture ever. And we decided to do, like, the podcast of it. And the first episode, and then the second episode was, like, a month and a half later. And keep in mind, like, this was in, like, February when we did the second episode. Then it was the third episode with Dave, I believe. No, the third episode was with Mark. Because I remember it was actually called The Reunion. Because I actually listened to it last week. And that was in Thanksgiving, so that must have been October.
Wow.
So there was, like, a month-long break between episode 2 and episode 3.
Well, I remember in, like, the first few episodes we had, like, 5-minute flurry and Will's random fact of the day and Mark's leaf update.
And the ginger joke of the day. And what was Mark had his rant?
Yeah.
And that's my anger. That's what it was called.
Yeah, and that's my anger. Oh yeah. I forgot about that. That's like a Nerdcast gem.
We got to
right
bring
there.
that back for like one episode.
We do need to bring that back.
Next time Mark's on, next time he comes back to the first dimension, he's gonna have to totally use. He's gonna have to do the "That's my anger" segment.
That's my anger.
I had one I was gonna say, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah, there were a lot of things. I think that I like how much we've progressed and how much. I don't know. It feels a lot more professional now. Like, and I'm
think the
totally
turning
just
point-
tooting my own horn here, but our collective horn, I guess.
We had a turning point. I think it was like episode 13-ish. No, it was before we had that like break where we forgot what episode number it was, and then we lost an episode. Because then I think like Lee, you said we should take a break because we should like reinvent it, and then that's when we started doing like experimenting with like WordPress and Tumblr, and what's the other one we used?
Whatever.
No. There was another Podomatic. We started doing that as well. So like we tried to figure out like what would be the best way to do that, and then we I think Lee, it was you who started the WordPress account, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So then that there like since we started like that, it's been really smooth and it's been really 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 good.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that when we hit our groove, podcast wise, was from the Mass Effect 3 spoiler cast on.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I think that I don't know. It just feels like that was the turning point for me, at least.
That was the last episode where I think the episode before that was I think that was episode 7 or 8. And then we had like the E3 prediction show with and
that was a good one too.
Post E. Yeah, so it started going like that, and then I remember it was after the Mass Effect 1. We all decided to like drop the segment stuff, like the 5-minute flurry and everything.
Yeah.
Which has definitely been for the better.
Yeah.
At least.
It felt forced. But then, of course, at that point, we didn't really have much to talk about.
And then look at us last week. We take a break from this, and like there's news everywhere.
Yeah.
So it is clear indication that Nerdcast has a hold on the pop culture world.
Yeah.
Of course.
I seriously found that hilarious, and I was just like, it was the day after. It was the Tuesday after. We were just like, yeah, I don't think we'll record one. There's not really much to talk about, and we're behind in uploading and all this, right? So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take the week off. And then the Tuesday after, there was a bunch of stuff that just came out. There's so many things that we had to talk about. It was like, wow. And considering we have 4 topics that we're talking about here, well, I guess one isn't news because we're talking about our favorite moments, but still.
We are celebrating ourselves. Can we just take a minute to celebrate us?
Yeah. Come on. Although, if you think about it, 20 episodes over, 3 years is...
Well, like we just said, the first couple months were a tad rusty because we only did we did 3 episodes in the span of 10 months. We were on top of things, and I would just like to point out, since we started doing this like weekly thing, or like where we've been doing more I believe like we started this whole weekly thing about October-ish of this year. Well, not like 2013, but like October-ish 2012. Yeah. Ever since then, I'm not going to say this is a coincidence. My marks in school have been great. I've been doing rather well at school. And I wasn't doing too hot for the first couple years at university.
A nice little distraction, and it keeps us informed in the world, at least.
Yeah. And hopefully it keeps you informed, listener.
Listener singular.
Well, it's not like we're not on the stage performing to everyone. It's only going to be 1, maybe 2 at the most, I'm going to say, listening to this podcast at a time. So I'm
You are my favorite listener.
Yes.
Keep in mind, we do have plans to get more too. Like we do have like some stuff like in the works. Like we have our Facebook page that we're going to start. Nerd Book.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But our website, I don't know. I have some things I want to do with it, but we have blog posts up, so that's good. Will, I really liked your thing that you did.
Thank you. I had to do it for class.
Well, it was still good, but I want to do more stuff like that, even if it's not like anything super spectacular. Just talking about a game that you played, and it doesn't even have to be a full review. Just talk about something, right? So. Yeah. Just what's going on in our world, because maybe if we talk about, or a piece of news happens that you find interesting, you can write about it and say why it's important or something like that, maybe the ramifications, and then maybe we can discuss it on the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And then we can relate it back and say, oh, if you didn't see that, then you can go check it out on the website, and then,
Yeah, and then what else is happening? We're going to be making the YouTube
multimedia.
We're going to be making the YouTube bigger, I think.
It's gonna move like we're gonna still have the podcast stuff, but our YouTube channel is not called NERDcast. It's called Nerdgasm Video. So we've had like plans to put more content on there. Like I think Will, you talked about putting like your Let's Plays on there. I don't know if if it was you who said that. And the day Danny gets a capture card, he'll do that as well.
I made another YouTube actually, and because I made a video for my review for The Cave, just talking about the visuals, and I just called it Nerdcast Extra, so we can put other stuff there if we want. Stuff that's, because I kind of want to keep the one YouTube account for the Nerdcast, like just the podcast, but we can put anything else on the other one. So, and it's kind of more related to the Nerdcast sort of thing, right? But
yeah.
So we do have that. You should subscribe to it.
And you should follow us on Twitter as well.
And Tumblr.
And
Yes.
Tumblr, yes. And like our Facebook page whenever we decide to put it up.
Be our stalkers.
Embrace what the internet has given you and become the creep you are born to be.
Oh, okay, if you're just going to straight up condescend to our listeners here.
I'm kidding.
Way to be into my favorite listener.
He hates you now. He or she or it, if it's another species, such as Mark, is very angry at you now.
Mark's listening to this through like transdimensional audio. It's working well for him. And playing Gran Turismo.
Article the other day, or I saw one that was very interesting, and I don't know how true it is or how like 100% legit it is, but it's still very interesting. It was talking about well, I'll just read the first paragraph here. It said world leaders of the 2013 Economic Forum held in Davos, Switzerland. I think that's how you say that. Davos, I don't know. But this January asked the attending editors and journalists to identify 5 of the most potentially disruptive of the unheralded risks, which they dubbed X Factors, according to Nature.com. The report put together, titled Global Risks 2013, came up with a list of 5 X Factors that world leaders need to prepare for to avoid what what is described as systematic shocks and catastrophic events. And the main one that this one was talking about was the discovery of alien life.
You know, this fits like perfectly to something I watched on YouTube the other day. I know you've all heard of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes.
He was talking about something that is fascinatingly disturbing. Like you guys have probably seen this. Like it's
Yes, I have.
a pretty popular video on the internet where he talks about how like you know how like humans and like chimps are like closely related, and there's like a 1% difference between our like DNA, and how like the capabilities of what each species can do is like massive. Like they can just do simple sign language, but we can like build a Hubble Space Telescope. He talks about how like what if we discover alien life and they're 1% different in the opposite direction, where to them we're the chimps. Like if we discover alien life and we think we're gonna have a conversation with them, we're gonna be insignificant to them.
Yeah.
That scares me. Actually.
I think that's a good point. And talking about another thing that I watched, you probably watched it too. There was a special on Discovery Channel talking about it was like a theoretical exploration of another planet. Like if we found an Earth-like planet that was capable of supporting like multicellular organisms on it, and it was basically saying like anything that you can conceive could technically exist, like mathematically. Because it would be like, there's so many combinations of things that could happen that...
I'm pretty sure that I have the DVD for that documentary kicking around in my apartment somewhere.
It was actually really interesting.
It's really interesting. It's one of my favorite documentaries. Actually, is that it right there?
But yeah, I thought that was really cool. And it made me think that, yeah. And plus also, like, the mathematically, if it's like an undetermined amount of planets that we've discovered, technically it could be like somebody that looks exactly like you, sort of like a parallel universe thing. Like mathematically, that could happen.
Oh yeah, I learned that in my astronomy class last year. Multiple universes.
Yeah. So,
but I was just thinking like, this is one of those things like when you think about the possibilities like you were talking about, the more you think about it, the more your head hurts. Like, I don't know if that's just me, but, like, it just gets so complex and, like, the possibilities are endless that the more you think about it, I gave myself a headache thinking about it.
But then there was also, there's another quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson that was talking about how he said some people look up in the sky and say that they feel insignificant, but yet he says we're part of this. He's like, the same things that make up a star a million miles away are inside of us. So he's like, it makes me feel like, big, right? I thought that was interesting.
He said, like, you don't look out at the sky and say, we're here and that's there. It's that we are a part of that.
Yeah.
Because, like, H2O, like, humans are made up of H2O, hydrogen, oxygen, matches the universe, carbon, nitrogen, all that stuff. Stars go boom, life created somewhere. You never know.
I'm in space.
Space.
So did you find the DVD well?
I found it. Got it right here. I can send you if you want.
What?
I'll send you guys pictures.
Okay.
But, pictures of the DVD. That's just as good as watching it. Yeah.
Back to the article though. I think that's interesting that people are saying that within the next 10 years that we're going to find life on another planet. And this doesn't say what kind of life. I'm assuming single-celled, basic forms of life. But, I don't know, just within 10 years, I find that interesting.
Life is life. Anything that we find fascinating.
Even if it's just, like, similar to the very first life ever, like, seen on Earth, like what Lee was saying, unicellular stuff, like that's still life other than our own, and something different, and differences always fascinate us, and we always find this stuff fascinating. I'm looking at the picture right now you just sent.
Yes, and that's the exact documentary I was talking about too.
It's riveting looking at it.
One of my favorites.
But
But no, you go on.
I was gonna say, we can't both say but but I think that where do you think that
But,
Can't think, not but.
okay, alright, fine. I was just gonna say, I was gonna say, like, be shocked.
what are you talking about now?
Yeah, well,
I don't know what's happening.
I would say I would be shocked if in the next 10 years we do not find life on, like, a distant planet. Because if you've noticed, like, in the past 5 or 6 years, the reports in the news of finding Earth-like planets in the habitable zone have been getting more frequent. Like, I remember, like, we found one, I think it was in, like, 2001, and that was a big thing. And we found one, like, 10 years earlier, and that was a big thing. But now in the past 5 years, like, there's been, like, 4, 5, 6 popping up everywhere.
Yeah, it
So
says,
obviously technology is advancing.
it says in this article that it said it was only in 1995 that we found the first evidence that other stars have planets.
95, okay, I was close.
Well, no, what you said was different. This was when we first discovered that there are other planets around stars, right? Not that there's another planet like Earth, right? And that was Kepler, whatever.
Yeah, and like we've been seeing more. And just like Will, you had took an astronomy class first year. I took one similar to yours second year.
Mine was easier.
My second year one was actually real easy, much easier than my first year one. But like what they talked about is that like the stuff you hear, like a habitable zone, how every like solar system has to have a habitable zone, and where like Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about, where like the most common elements in the universe are found in like life on Earth. It's like there has to be life up there. I'm like the perfect, like I perfectly, like I just say there has to be life out there. It would be totally egotistical to say that we are the only life on Earth.
No, statistically there has to be life out there.
So like the universe is like it's
The universe is really big.
it boggles the mind as to how big it is. I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson again, he was saying there are more stars in the universe than there are all the words, like letters and sounds spoken by every human since the beginning of time. And when he said that, I was like, oh, mind blown.
Yeah, what was it? This the Hubble Ultra Deep Field Image.
Oh, yeah,
It was like a tenth of the size of the moon of the sky, and it had something like 10,000 galaxies in it.
And how many stars are in a galaxy? Like millions.
Millions, billions.
Billions.
And that's a
And I remember,
tenth
like,
of
we
the size
just
of the moon in the sky.
Yeah. Like, I remember my professor last year, she was saying, think for a second how big do you think the universe is? And then in actuality, the universe is infinitely bigger than what you think it is. And that also made my head hurt. Because it's constantly expanding. So I would just be like shocked if in the next 10 years we don't see some form of life, because the galaxy's huge. We've only looked a little bit. Like we have limitations in our technology. Like the Hubble telescope can't look that far, but it can do that Hubble deep field stuff. But like technology's advancing, so you never know.
Isn't it
We might
still
find it
how they did the Hubble Deep Field Image? I don't claim to be a scientist, but it was just like a long exposure. So like if a certain galaxy were like, so it's not like that's not what the sky looks like all the time. It was that like how it was moving, put together, right?
If I remember correctly, they just like positioned it and kept it in one position for a week at with a really long exposure, and that's what came out of it. That's what I vaguely remember. I don't have my notes on me. I don't really like looking at my previous notes.
But what was I going to say? They were. So what do you think but within 10 years, do you think that humanity is ready to accept that there is life on another planet? And I don't mean just people like us. I mean like everyone, like humanity as a whole.
No.
No,
Definitely not.
no, because there are still people out there who, like, there are still some of those like hardcore old school religious people who still think like humanity is special and we are like the center of the universe and
The Earth is 5,000.
the Earth is 6,000.
Yeah, okay, well,
And more power to you. If that's
Humanity needs to sort out its own problems before we're ready to accept alien life as even close to a possibility.
and
because we have humanity is just one big monster dysfunctional family.
and considering, even if you don't want to get rid of the religion aspect, there are people that still believe that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that boggles my mind. Like how people can still think the Earth is flat. But again, if they want to think that, that's totally up to them.
If you want to be willfully ignorant, then that's totally up to you.
I'm not saying they're right, but I'm not going to go to someone and
Which
say
they're not.
"Oh, you are," even though I know them.
But yeah, that's basically it. I agree with you. I don't think that. But then again, do you think there will be ever a point in time when we would be ready to acknowledge that we're
Yep.
not alone in the universe?
Once it happens, people will probably start warming up to the idea. It'll take time.
Oh yeah, it'll take a long time.
I guess picture now like a news conference, like the world leaders are announcing.
Well, that's
life has
exactly
been-
what this article's talking about, prepping for that news conference, right?
Yeah, like I can just imagine like they're gonna have their 5-year speech written. It was written 5 years ago. They're gonna come out and say life was found. People are gonna all the scientists in the world, astrophysicists, all of them. They're all gonna rejoice and say we've found life. But then all the doubters, all the creationists, all the hardcore religious people, I can imagine they will be in doubt at first, but I can see them coming around later. But hey, if they still want to hold on to their beliefs, they might find a way to incorporate this into their beliefs.
And you know what? That would be just that I don't know. I can't even describe how stupid that would be. That you can sit there, and again, we were talking about that whatever you want to believe, whatever. And we're not going to cross this threshold. I'm not trying to offend anybody. But, if you're going to look at your doctrine and say, okay, these are the rules, and then when something comes along that you can't deny that's completely shatters that, and then you make up something to fit into that, I don't think anybody's going to buy that.
No, people aren't going to buy that, but those who are hardcore religious, they're probably going to do it because they've lived their whole life like that, and they don't want to change. It's worked well for them from the beginning. Why would they want to change it abruptly because of that? That's just what I think. But yeah,
I don't know. I think that
I think it's stupid.
it would be. I think it would be really cool to have something like that happen, and I'm trying to picture it having that as a concrete fact that there is life out there would be. I don't think it would start off as a whoop-de-doo, right? It doesn't bother me any at this point in my life, right? But then thinking about it, how much stuff it actually changes, how much it.
Books will have to be rewritten, and
Yes.
I can just say a shitstorm will come. I don't know how it'll come. I don't know what it'll be about, but there will be a shitstorm when this happens. Because even if we find just unicellular life, because that's just one thing. Then we got to prepare. What if we find highly intelligent life,
Or even common livestock intelligence life.
Yeah, and what if some of that life we find is a really ridiculously contagious virus? Shit's gonna go down.
That's another thing that we have to worry about would be contamination and stuff like that.
I just know for a fact that the day that we discover or scientists discover another form of life, it'll be exactly like you said. The people who have thought this the whole time are going to be like, oh, yay, it happened. We finally have proof.
Oh.
The doubters are going to be like, oh, we need more proof, or no, that goes against whatever. But in the coming years or decades, shit's going to go down.
I heard that there were people that were just saying even now that if we were to find evidence of life on Mars, they would automatically say it's false for the simple fact that we can't possibly rule out contamination from the rover. It's
I'm sure
impossible.
science would count.
That's what people were. That's what some people were saying. But come on, the thing freaking hurtled through space, and I know things live on that, but nothing that's on the surface of the Earth is going to live through interplanetary flight, right?
That's true. Well, you can also think of it like this. Deniers of this it's going to be similar to climate change, because climate change is like it's fairly evident that climate change is like not a myth.
But there were, I will agree with that. But there, at the same time, there were a lot of things that came out that were complete and utter fabrications, which put it in doubt. I don't think that anything could happen.
That's
like
scientific community's fault, because they did put up blatant lies, and
Yes.
we actually have seen, like in one of my classes right now that I'm taking, my professor talked about something that was like a big thing. It's called they called it the hockey stick, because it was temperature records from like the year 1000 up until now, and it was like CO2 records, and like it was like a straight line and then a huge increase. But they said like they actually proved like there were things that weren't taken into account. There was this and that, and all that stuff that feeds, like that's just like feed for like the climate change deniers. So like stuff like that, like if they do that again with like this life on Earth thing, they're gonna have people denying this left and right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you just need to deny one little bit of evidence that goes contrary to what's being accepted, and they'll be able to hold on to it for as long as they can.
Yeah, deniers of anything, they're like the most vocal, because it'll be exactly like what Will said. They'll find the most minuscule like fact that is wrong, and they will just like exaggerate it to the point where they will burn it into people's skulls that the whole thing, like maybe if this is wrong, maybe everything is wrong.
Well, it's from the simple fact that you can't disprove the non-existence of something. Yeah. And that's why there's so many people still searching for Bigfoot to this day. Because they do find evidence that could possibly point to this, but I'm not going to go out there and find evidence that says, hey, look, this proves he doesn't exist, right? It'd be the exact same amount of evidence as if I went into the same forest in Washington or wherever in the east over there, or the west, and said, hey, I found evidence that unicorns don't exist, or leprechauns don't exist, right? It's not going to happen. You can't possibly find evidence.
What?
You can't possibly find evidence that something doesn't exist.
I can tell you right now, the cabin in the woods is pure evidence that unicorns exist.
Thank you.
They will stab you, and it's hilarious.
I want to see that movie. I want to see the sequel of that, and then with the sea people or whatever it was, the mermen.
Wait, you've seen Cabin in the Woods, right?
I have, yeah.
Will, have you?
No, I haven't.
Watch it.
I know.
Watch it. A little off topic, but oh my, that's like the best movie I've seen of last year.
It was really good, but
because it started off as like just total cliche, and then you don't know what's going on.
Shit happens.
Yeah, exactly. Joss Whedon happens.
All right, so bottom line is very interesting that some people. So, do you think that I don't think we cover this. Do you think that it is going to happen in the next 10 years, or do you think it'll be after that? Because I think we pretty much already concluded that we all agree that we will find life eventually. But do you think the next 10 years is the key?
I would be shocked if we don't find like evidence of extraterrestrial life. Like I would say, like, you know, we're not like we won't find it. Like I would say there's a better chance of us finding like fossilized remains on like Mars in like the next 10 years. Because like if we find like an extrasolar planet and it's in the habitable zone and it has like the same chemical composition of the Earth, like down to the letter, we can't get there to prove it.
I don't think we're going to find anything.
In the next 10 years?
Not in the next 10 years, no.
No, I say we have a better chance of finding evidence on Mars than we do here. Because if we find evidence on Mars that life existed, Like, if we find out that life existed on Mars, that alone is extraterrestrial life. Because it's life that's not on...
You can also take into consideration that there could be traces of life or past life, like fossils and stuff like that, on like Titan, Saturn's moon.
Yeah, and
maybe even on Venus to an extent, right?
Yeah,
because there could have been something at one point.
Venus was very similar to Earth, I believe.
It's Earth's sister planet, is it not?
Yeah, and
in size
It has this like runaway greenhouse effect where it's just gonna like constantly be ridiculously hot, and it spins in the opposite direction of Earth.
Oh, does it?
So I think,
I know that.
yeah, I learned that first.
I learned that in grade 1.
Shut up.
Well, I don't remember that far back.
But yeah, like it was very similar to Earth, and it has volcanoes, and I would say like Mars is the best place to look in the next 10 years, because like I said, if we find something there and it didn't originate from Earth, if it didn't come from Earth, that's alien life.
And
because it's not.
Yeah, considering that just the other day, Curiosity first broke ground, and that's the first time we've actually dug into the surface of Mars, if I recall correctly, since our entire history of sending rovers there, right?
Yeah.
So, and we only dug, what was it? It was like 20 millimeters or something like that. What could
20 millimeters more than we've done before.
It'd be like, what could we find? Like, because we find things like hundreds of feet into the Earth, right? What could we find in Mars? You could find something that 1 million years back there was life at some point.
Because like, haven't they've found like scientists are almost certain that millions of years ago Mars had oceans.
Yes.
Because there's evidence of like river deltas and stream beds and
tidal,
lakes.
there was like tidal formations and stuff like that too.
Yeah, there's geological formations that are made only by wave action.
Yeah, that's widely accepted. Worldwide.
Yeah, so water been on Mars at some point. And we know like water is H2O and humans are made up of H2O. So life is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, so there's a good chance there was life back then.
Did you?
But,
what was it called? Oh, sorry, finish, Danny.
I don't know. No, you go.
I was going to take it in a different direction, but
no, I'll go. I was.
You can finish up your thought.
You guys know what happens when I go like a rant. I just go completely off topic eventually.
Did you guys ever see the movie Evolution?
No.
I can't remember who was in it. I think it was the fat dude from My Name Is Earl, and he was in
Oh, I know what you're talking.
American History X, yeah. I think he was in it, but it was basically about some meteor hit the Earth, and it was a shitty B movie. Don't get me wrong, but I think I rented it from the library.
It didn't star Bruce Campbell.
But which goes to show you how long ago it was. I rented it from the library, and not the new library that we have in Guernsey, the old library. So this is like going a decade back, but yeah, it was about like this asteroid or a meteor or whatever crashed into Earth, and then it had like single cell organisms on it, and then it slowly evolved into like some sort of mutant ape-like creature that threatened to take over the world. And then the dudes that were part of and it was at like a university that they were testing it. So there were people that were like the highest minds, and then these two like burnouts that were failing all the courses and went. And then they basically saved the Earth because they realized that it was like a different chemical makeup, and then a certain thing was poison to it, but not cyanide, like us, right? Or arsenic. It was, so then they realized it was some other chemical, and that chemical was the main chemical in Head and Shoulders. So they killed all the aliens with Head and Shoulders.
I think the better question is, does this movie qualify for shitty movie night?
It was well, I was probably only like maybe 8 to 12 when I saw it, but it was
okay.
It was set as a comedy. It wasn't serious like an action movie. It was a comedy, but
it wasn't Birdemic level, is what you're saying?
No, Birdemic is in its own category of awesomeness, but
okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I think we all agree Mars is the best case scenario we are not ready because people are still going to deny it all. I think is that what we agreed on?
Yeah, I think so.
I still don't think on Mars, but I agree with everything else.
And I still don't know about 10 years.
All right. We're
Maybe,
junior
maybe a
scientists.
little longer than 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years is a pretty short time when you think about it.
Yeah,
Well,
but
yeah,
then again, it's
like
also
the Earth is 500 million years old, so
considering what less than 100 years ago we were just learning to fly, and now we're sending things to
Yeah.
Mars. So, and
again,
possibly
technology
landing
is
on Mars,
advanced.
putting humans on Mars. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It could go either way.
I think we have a better chance in the next 10 years to
Galaxy's
discover
biggest
Prothean
ape
moons.
of I Spy.
It's funny because I was going to say that, Danny. As soon as Curiosity breaks the surface, it was like a Prothean databank has been discovered. Capture its contents and send them back to the mothership.
On a side note, this is I think Lee, you and I talked about this a couple months back, where they're developing like some warp drive thing where they had some plans for like a warp drive. I forget how to pronounce it. It's called the Alcubierre drive, and what they had was that it required huge amounts of energy to make this thing work. But theoretically, in theory, it could work, and you could like travel faster than the speed of light by bending space and by bending the space time around you or something.
And I heard a little research, there was something about it recently that I heard, and it was not an actual test. It was just a thought experiment. Like a bunch of top scientists got together and discussed would it be possible to bend the rules of physics to do this? So it wasn't like anything that we could do within the realm of possibility, but
I recently read an article.
And I also, I read before, I was going to say that they concluded that, it would take a massive amount of energy, and that bubble that they make around the ship, well, they said, first of all, that bubble only exists in our scientific world in, microscopic forms, so to get it to be that big would require a huge amount of energy, and they don't know that what you put in that bubble would survive. And they were also talking about how there was that would form a singularity in front of a black hole in front of the orb, and it would essentially just collapse the drive.
Wasn't I the one who said that shit will go down?
Yeah.
But I was just I have read an article about 2 months ago or so where they said they've taken this thought experiment and they've reworked it so that in theory it won't require as much mass and energy as the original idea. That's something I'm throwing out there. If you want to read it, I'll find you the link. Don't know where it is.
I think that even that we might be able to do that. I still think that'll be anything. It's definitely not one of these X factors that they're talking about. Let's just put it that way.
Oh no.
We have figured out warp drive technology. We are now starting trips to Pluto starting tomorrow.
Funny thing about warp drive, I remember I was reading an article. Stephen Hawking was on an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Was he?
Yeah, he was a holodeck character playing poker with Einstein and Data and somebody else. And I remember on the set of Star Trek, they were going through the engineering set, and it showed the warp drive, and he points at it, or he doesn't point at it because he can't, but he
gestures his wheelchair towards it.
He basically said, "I'm working on that."
I remember that.
So I found that pretty cool. But that was in 1989, 90? That was 25 years ago.
Yeah, and let's think about that for 1 second. If Stephen Hawking comes up to you and says, I'm doing this such and such with science now, and I'm doing this much, who's going to have the balls to call him out on that?
Nobody. That's true.
He could be like, I'm working on a magical death ray, and it's just it harnesses the power of snails to do something, to be like, oh, cool.
I can't wait to read your articles.
I bet they're peer-reviewed. last episode, we discussed a bit about Will's favorite animal, the giant squid. So I thought that we'd expand on that and kind of give the squids their due time in the spotlight.
I may be out of this conversation a little bit. I don't really know much about squids.
Will, do you want to say like what happened recently with the giant squid and everything? You probably know more about it than I do.
Yeah. So recently, probably almost a couple weeks ago, scientists have finally managed to get the first video of a giant squid alive in its natural habitat. Which is actually quite a big deal considering so far all we've had are corpses and a video of one being pulled up onto a trawler.
And somewhere somebody on the internet was saying, "Release the Kraken!"
Somewhere, everywhere on the internet, someone was saying release the Kraken.
All of Reddit.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think that. So let's break it down first. Well, what's so important about the giant squid that we just go nuts over that we found it?
Is it a mutation?
No, it's not a mutation. It's a species.
Okay. I thought it was like maybe like some
No.
mutation of like a regular squid or something. Like gigantism in humans.
Mega squid.
No, it's just the fact that the giant squid's probably the largest invertebrate alive. And it's one of those animals that's been so elusive for so long, and now we actually have some real hardcore proof, and we actually seen it alive.
Well, it was a cryptid, wasn't it?
Yeah, they
for a while.
weren't they responsible for the old like Kraken myths
Yep.
when like there were like ships and all that went down
So
because of
hard to get footage because none of them would come up to the surface. Because they're deep water creatures.
Yeah, but the thing with the Kraken myths, it was because they would pull off whales and sharks and stuff like that, and they would like cough up these gigantic tentacles.
And there have been reports of giant squids attacking boats before, too.
Oh, really?
don't piss off the giant squid apparently.
I believe the most recent one was in World War II.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a
didn't read
boat,
that.
and it was actually attacked by a giant squid. I think, like, just the tentacles were going all up on the side and stuff.
I guess that makes sense, because they found the squid in Japan, and there was
Yeah.
war there.
Did they attack a German U-boat or?
No,
did
it
they
would have
attack
been
us?
American or Japanese.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say maybe even the giant squid didn't like the Nazis either.
Oh, God.
You just
The giant
squid
squid
climbs
attack.
up on land and grabs Hirohito and pulls him into the ocean.
Hitler, you're next.
No, the squid's just one of those animals that I've always found very, very fascinating.
Because of how elusive it's been.
No, just I find it fascinating. Squids in general, and dinosaurs.
Well, considering that the squid went from like something that was, I don't even know, like what was before even the discovery of like the Humboldt squid. How big did a squid get? Not that big, right?
Not that big. Pretty big enough to serve on a skewer.
It was like less than a foot long. I'm going to say, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tentacles.
And now
and-
we have a giant squid, and how big are they? Like,
About the size of a bus, maybe?
holy crap.
Yeah. Well, that's including the tentacles.
Yeah, that's from like the tip to, and they have like they have 10 tentacles, don't they?
They have 8 smaller tentacles, and then
Yeah.
2 larger tentacles.
Tentacles o' doom.
Tentacles no doom. Folks, they're designed for combat with hooked suction cups.
Yeah, I saw that one time because I remember watching a documentary about the Humboldt squid, and that was what I thought they were talking about when they said they found a giant squid. And so I was like,
that's just a Humboldt.
yeah, on the Humboldts, they're big. They're like 6 feet long.
Yeah, about as big as me.
Yeah,
Basically, the Humboldt squid, it's like, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
but that was a big step that they found this Humboldt squid, and then they showed like its tentacles, and it had like the rotating claws, and it's
Rotating murder suction cups of doom.
yes. And I was like, this thing is like real.
Yeah. Well, what is it? What was it? One of the documentaries that I've been watching since probably about grade 8, and I watch it probably every year on and off. It's called The Future is Wild, and it talks about the world after humans.
Oh, I think I've seen this.
Hmm?
I think I've seen this.
Yeah, and they basically like ignore humans or like ignore squids for the entire duration of the first like 200 million years. And then the very last episode, they bring up how after like mammals and like dolphins are gone, humans are gone, squids are actually the next most intelligent animal out there.
Really?
Yeah,
Squids.
squids. Squids are one of the most intelligent animals. Probably the most intelligent animal without a spine.
I guess that's
I, for one, welcome our squid overlords.
I did a bit of research because at first when I said I thought that they were Humboldt squid, and then I found out that they weren't, that it was massive. So I figured out I did more research, and then I found out that there was colossal squid,
Those ones are even bigger.
and they haven't been found yet.
Oh, they haven't been found? I was about to ask if they
No, we've only found like giblets and stuff from them, scars from whales, the occasional beak, but no real corpses, no full corpses have been found. As far as I know.
12 to 14 meters long.
Yeah, and they were saying
39
that
to 46 feet.
the colossal one, it's more bulky than the giant squid. It weighs a lot more.
Yeah. The female is actually larger than the male too, and they fight sperm whales.
Yeah, I remember hearing things where they found sperm whales with scars all down its mouth because when they go to eat them, the tentacles grab onto the sides.
Yep. Well, what else would you do for being eaten by a sperm whale? You can grab onto this and hope it doesn't eat you.
Please stop. I didn't ask for this. They didn't teach me this at squid school.
What else is there? Okay, I have something to say. Fun fact, the giant squid has the largest eye in the animal kingdom.
Really?
It's about
I was unaware of that. Granted, I was unaware of a lot of things about the giant squid.
There are very few men or women alive who can outsquid me.
Oh, my God.
So, did they say whether or not a giant squid can... Or is it octopus or squid that ink?
Both.
Oh, they both do
The
it?
giant squid can also ink.
Can it?
Yeah.
So how does that
Yeah.
work? Do they have an ink sac?
Yes.
Does it come out their mouth?
I think it comes out near their mouth.
So how much on average does a giant squid ink? Have they said that?
I don't think that's something that they've been able to measure, considering this is the first one that's been found alive. Even then, it's 5 seconds of video, maybe.
Yeah. Well, they had two different videos for the thing I saw. There was the one that they caught it out of the ocean rover thing. They caught it on video.
Yeah.
And then they had a stub that had a bunch of people in it, and they saw it in there. And the one dude that was he was one of the Japanese researchers. He's been searching for it for 25 years or something like that. And that was back when people thought he was crazy because he was basically the equivalent of a Bigfoot hunter sort of thing.
I'm going to go hunt giant squids now.
Yeah. And people looked at him like he was crazy, and then he finally saw one. So he was crying in the sub because he was spent half his life trying to find the squid, and finally found it.
Oh, the one being hauled up on the trawler was a colossal squid.
Oh, really?
That's cool. And it's on display in New Zealand right now.
That is number 10,475,376 of things that can kill you in New Zealand and Australia.
First 4,000 are all spider.
Health bars.
The spiders have health bars. Yeah.
Basically, the way I think of Australia and New Zealand, remember that scene from the movie Avatar when the colonel says everything beyond that fence wants to kill you and eat your eyes for jujubes, and that basically everything in Australia.
Yeah. Thankfully, colossal squids live in colder Arctic regions.
Really?
Yep.
So you mean how cold Arctic regions?
Antarctic.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so not Arctic Canada.
I was gonna say, not like the lakes right now.
No, it's okay, guys. You can go for your polar dips. It's okay.
So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I think that it also, like, the fact that they haven't found something that's as long as a bus in the ocean on our planet yet.
Well,
What else is in there?
Blue whale.
No, I mean, like, what
Up
other
next,
life that
big
we
bone.
haven't discovered in the ocean is there still out there?
Lots.
Exactly.
We know more about the moon than we do the ocean.
That's true. I remember reading about that.
And there's
It's
some
like, look
weird
at how
things.
big the ocean is.
There's some weird things in the ocean. There's like that one fish that has like a transparent skull.
Yeah, or the entire fish is transparent. There's
Oh, we learned about that in biology last
Oh
time.
yeah, the anglerfish. That thing's creepy.
Oh, that we learned about. We saw a picture of that, and everybody in the class was like, "Oh God."
Well, okay. Were you two both in my class for grade 11 English?
Grade 11?
You
What did
have
you have for
Buick,
grade
right?
11 English?
Buick.
And then yeah, we were in the class.
Yeah, do you guys remember our presentation when we had to like read the book and mine was about scientifically prolonging life?
I remember that
Also make fun of me in your presentation.
we split up into two groups, so we might not have saw yours, right?
Maybe I thought Danny was in my group. Anyway,
No, because I remember like in at least four presentations in that class, I was made fun of.
Yes. It all
I
started
was
with
there
Dave.
but yeah, for my thing, I did a presentation on scientifically prolonging life, and one of my biggest points was about a jellyfish called Tentaculus nutricula, and basically,
Oh, I think I remember this. Keep going.
when it gets older, it reverts back to its pupa stage, and then just starts again, and just goes back and forth, back and forth.
Yes, I remember this. I remember you talking about this.
Mortal jellyfish.
I remember reading about this a couple weeks ago, but it flew into my head. I'm like, I've heard this somewhere before, and I forgot where I heard it, but now I know it was you who talked about it.
Yeah.
So the jellyfish is immortal then?
But
Jellyfish is immortal.
okay, so just one quick question: was it Dave who started making fun of him in that presentation first?
Yes, he was.
What did he say? I totally forget.
I don't remember. I just remember making fun of you.
He
I remember
used,
Marx
he
was
used
the
you
best.
in an unflattering example of something.
So did Mark when he
it-
talked about totalitarianism in the Minnesota Wild.
Either a cloning thing or a gender change thing. It was one of the two, but it involved.
No, the gender change was somebody else.
And that was the one that ended it
And-
because
and
that
the other- Yeah, our teacher just went like batshit crazy after that one, and I don't know if I told you guys this, but when she was like yelling at the class at that moment, she was right next to me, and I was looking up at her, and I just wanted to say, I really don't care. But she's like going off and all, and I'm just sitting there, I'm trying to laugh. Because if I laughed, then she would get mad at me. But I was like, you really, like, I don't care.
So what book did you read
I
for
took-
that, Will?
Frankenstein.
Oh, makes sense.
Ah. What book did
I
you read,
forget
Danny?
what Dave said, but I remember. I read Fahrenheit 451.
Hooray!
did I.
Squid.
I want to read that
Huh?
book then. I read Fahrenheit 451, yeah.
Oh, well, I totally forgot what my project was. But see, I remember someone made Mark made fun of me because when he was talking about totalitarianism, he said like basically I can say anything and you will have to believe it. Even though it's wrong. But a better example: Minnesota Wild equals good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was what depressed people crying in a corner, and then I think it was I forget who it was, but she was like, so it's basically like you could take it, like you could do the manly way and go get treatment, or you could just be like, hey, sit in a corner and cry all day.
That might have been that wasn't the one that.
No, Dave didn't do that one.
No, I mean that wasn't the one that you got mad at.
Nope.
No, that was the agenda change one.
Oh, okay.
Because somebody asked a question after the presentation, like, so say if somebody like Danny wanted to get a gender change, and then everything just went to hell after that, and I could not stop laughing inside. I really didn't care.
It's the squids.
Squid. Ocean. Fascinating place.
See what happens when I talk?
Yeah, you should. Annie. Really not brow.
This is why I don't like talking as I do, even though I talk a lot.
Squid.
So
Yes.
how long is it until we have giant squid pets?
I'm gonna give.
I can pet the giant squid at Marine Land.
Probably never. Probably never.
Everyone loves Marineland.
You just go to like pet the squid, just a tentacle wraps around you and drags you to the tank.
We have been forced to close Marineland due to unforeseen deaths in the hands of our giant squid.
And the giant squids will majestically jump through hoops.
Or there's like a dolphin goes to jump through a hoop and you just see a tentacle shoot up and grab it out of the sky. Well, it looks like Flipper's not going to make it till next week.
Squids.
Squids.
I guess this information, depending on how you look at it, can be both good and horrifying. At the same time, even. But it was recently... well, Danny, you can talk about this because you were the one that wanted to talk about it, so... I think you know what...
Oh, is this the J.J. Gabe Newell thing?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Or is it the J.J. Abrams directing another science fiction franchise that is not Star Trek?
Yeah. Both of those.
Hello? Anybody still there? Okay. Okay, well, recently, like, we took a break last week because we didn't feel like we had any news that was noteworthy for NERDcast, and the very next day, everything decides to come out. One of those was J.J. Abrams wants to team up with Gabe Newell and Valve to create Half-Life and Portal movies. And J.J. Abrams was also announced as the new director of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And anyone who is a science fiction fan knows he is currently the director of Star Trek. I find this really strange and somewhat makes me a little angry.
Too much lens flare.
You're missing the most important part of the story to me. Even more important than the Portal movie, potentially. That he announced that there's going to be backstories for certain characters, separate from the trilogies of Star Wars.
For a Star Wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about Han Solo and Boba Fett one.
Yep.
And there was potential of a Yoda one as well.
That's just stupid.
The Yoda one is dumb.
So
Yoda is a mystique, and his mystique is what makes him so awesome.
Yeah.
My first question is, who do you want to see a backstory of in the Star Wars universe? Because for me, personally, it's the rise and fall of the Cantina Band. But that's just me.
Okay, in that case, yes.
We'll
Let's
see.
make a $200 million movie.
We'll see.
You'll never make
my
it to this
request.
town, kid! And then it's just a sad... like a depressing... Cantina
It's filmed in
Band
black
song.
and white, like a 1950s jazz movie. Like,
That's the only song they
Because
know how to
Mark's
play.
not here. Because Mark's not here, I feel like I can talk for him, and I'm pretty sure that Mark would like the backstory of Jar Jar Binks to be a
oh my
movie.
god. I just want to tie Mark to a chair and make him and force him to watch that.
I'm pretty sure I just
Fantastic.
heard Mark yell transdimensionally in frustration at that.
For all your listeners who don't know, Mark and Will did a let's play of Lego Star Wars.
Oh god, it goes far beyond that, Danny.
I know, but this is the beginning. Every time Jar Jar Binks would be shown, Mark would yell, "I hate you!" and kill him. So he clearly loves Jar Jar Binks.
His favorite character.
But no, in all seriousness, I don't want to see any backstory.
No.
Because this is, like, my main problem with the prequel trilogy, like, I enjoyed the prequel trilogy, except for Attack of the Clones and 90% of Phantom Menace. I like the lightsaber battle with Darth Maul. That was actually really cool. But the prequel trilogy was necessary and not, because, like, you could see, like, you know, you wanted to see the beginnings of Anakin Skywalker, even though they probably casted the worst actors of all time to play Anakin Skywalker. But the sequel trilogy is not needed at all.
See, the problem with the sequel trilogy is that it was kind of unavoidable when George Lucas was like, I'm going to make 1, 4, 5, and 6.
I just, like... The Star Wars expanded universe, this is what I'm actually really worried about, is what does this do to the expanded universe? Because, like, there have been comic books and games about all this stuff that have really done more to Star Wars than the movies have ever done. And George Lucas should thank it, because this is what has made him rich. Because he owned 100% of Lucasfilms. So when he sold that to Disney for $4 billion, every penny went into his pocket. So he should be thankful for the expanded, like, universe. And what I'm worried about is that this is going to shit all over the expanded universe.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be Disney...
It probably will, but that doesn't matter, because it's not real. And I know that sounds funny, but, like, and I agree with you. Like, I haven't personally, like, read anything or seen anything like that, but from what I hear, there is a lot of interesting stuff with, like, the novels and games and things like that, right? But it doesn't matter, because it's not the movies. And then that's it.
The thing I'm really happy about, though, is that they're doing sequels, and they're not making, like... See, the best Star Wars game I find of all time is Knights of the Old Republic. So it's a good thing they're not going to shit all over that, because that was the best Star Wars story since Episode 6. Or Episode 4. Sorry.
I was going to say, Episode 6 was not the best.
But I haven't really read a lot from the sequels, like the novels where it shows, like, Luke Skywalker's kids and all that, because, like, Luke Skywalker, like, he marries a woman named Mara Jade. They have 3 kids. One of his sons becomes a Sith Lord, and apparently it's really fucking interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, like, worried that they're gonna completely shit on all of it. And it's just going to be Disney wanting to make money, and that's all this is. But let's not forget the more important thing is I'm expecting to play Kingdom Hearts 5, and Luke Skywalker will be in my party.
But then again, you also got to remember that even if they do that, which I'm going to go ahead and say right now, they will. They're not going to bend over backwards to listen to some little book that some one guy wrote about something, right? And I could prove this for the simple fact that they don't, or any of the new comic book movies that are coming out, they say that it's not canon. It's like a relaunching, reimagination of it. So yeah, some things might work in that sense, but it's not the exact same story, right?
But that also pisses me off, because that's one thing I loved about Star Wars, is that everything that has been written is all in the same universe. There's nothing like... It's not...
Everything's been canon.
Yeah, everything is canon. Like you'll get the odd, like, stupid thing where it's been discredited and has been, like, rewritten better, but, like, everything from, like, Darth Revan in Knights of the Old Republic to Darth Krayt 150 years after the Battle of Yavin, like, all that is... Like, that is canon, and that's all within the same universe. It's, like, it's one world. Like, George Lucas didn't do a good job directing the Star Wars movies, but he did create a pretty damn good universe, and he let other people help expand it. Hence the name Expanded Universe. And
everything organized, at least.
Yeah, and I just feel Disney is going to completely shit on it, and it frustrates me.
Yeah, and even if they do, which they will, like I said, they're just going to say, well, this is a reimagining and a relaunching of the thought. So.
But that's stupid, because they did that with Marvel as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. They've already done that with all the movies that they released about the comic books.
And not just the comic books, but, like, DC did it as well with their DC universe, and I think Marvel Comics, like, not the actual, like, Marvel film world or something, like the Avengers and all that, like the new Avengers movie. But Disney is just like it's like special, and I'm nerding out big time here, but I don't care. Like it's so rich in the universe that's been built, because it's not just like a 100-year story. There's like tens of thousands of years of stories here.
Yeah,
like I was saying,
and the comic books weren't. There was
me?
like thousands of issues about these things, and some of them they just rewrote like a ton of them. And I don't claim to be like a comic book expert, but they literally shit all over everything that's happened in some of these comics.
Are you talking about Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're gonna do that to Star Wars, and all I'm trying to say is that's just that angers me.
Yeah, and even if you want to go so far as even to take it out of Disney, like even half of the Nolan Batman series was not canon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That wasn't the way the Joker happened. I'm pretty sure that the Two-Face wasn't around for 5 minutes and then he died, right?
Yeah, so like, I realized that because I did like the Batman trilogy, so that does make me somewhat of a hypocrite in this sense, but like it's hard to, like, I can't explain it. Maybe you guys can like explain it for me better, like why, like it just, because like the Batman movies were better than Joel Schumacher's Batman movies, where you had Batman nipples, really terrible. George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Batman and Mr. Freeze. But
I think that people like the Batman movies because they, for the most part, a lot of people didn't think of them as based off of a comic book. They thought, hey, this is a really cool concept on its own.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what...
It's taking Batman.
Right? It's just taking... first of all, it's based on the movies. So the books can continue to do whatever they want, and people can continue to read them. Right?
Yeah.
And they don't even have to adapt to these new stories. Right? I bet there's some people out there that have written books about just the original trilogy and not even included the new one and have their own backstory for Anakin and everybody else, right? It doesn't matter. And they can do that. They have the right to do that. And it's probably better fiction than anything that's going to come out. But that doesn't mean it's not going to come out.
100 Monkeys on a Typewriter is going to be better than what Disney can come up with Star Wars.
Well, and it's funny because what I've said, like, the new Star Wars trilogies, I don't know about all of these offshoots that they're saying, but this new trilogy that's going to come out, I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be a half-decent action movie and sci-fi movie, but it's going to be a terrible Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I'm going to compare it to, like, Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13 was a decent game, but it was an absolutely shitty Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, and part of this could be contributed to the fact that nowadays, and the reason why you see so many trilogies and sequels and things like that and prequels, is because somebody like you or me will write a script that has a certain story, has certain characters, and does certain things, and then I hand it to Hollywood, let's say, wherever it goes to, and then they'll look at it and go, if we change this guy, get rid of that guy, change this story a bit, now it fits into the Star Wars universe, right? And so now we have this piece that you wrote about something totally different that we can market in the Star Wars universe. It's all marketing. That's what it is.
So I just totally pictured this courtroom drama.
Well, okay.
What can we add to this courtroom drama? Add Jar Jar Binks, and now it's a Star Wars movie.
They had a whole freaking, like, scene. What one was it? Was it... I think it might have been the Phantom Menace, where they were, like, it was like a UN meeting of galactic everything. There was a whole scene of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
I think we kind of went off track of your original question. Is like, which backstory would you like to see?
That was more of a joke, but I like the way that we went. But if you have what backstory of a person you want to see, joke or otherwise, I'm willing to hear it.
Okay, I had one. The second Red Guard for Darth Sidious.
It was funny because when I was doing the layout for the the video, I was going to put Star Wars Part 26, that guy you saw once.
And the movie all leads up to his final scene in Revenge of the Sith when Yoda just effortlessly force pushes him against a wall.
Yeah, he has this like huge scene where he's building up and he's like everything's going, and then or it's like this down on his luck stormtrooper here. He's trying to win his way up to the top, gain respect of his peers, even though he's been bullied his entire life. And then they were the droids he was looking for.
I would actually, you know what? That'd be good because that'd be a comedy, and that would actually be really good. But this is kind of a little strange, like a little off topic for me here. But what really irks me about this new Star Wars trilogy, and Will, I don't know if you think the same way, but it's the fact that Star Wars is much bigger than Star Trek, and this worries me that J.J. Abrams will not be directing the third Star Trek movie.
Ooh.
Like, I still think he might be in it in, like, maybe, like, an executive producer role. Like, I'm sure Bad Robot would still be, like, one of the studios attached to the film, but I don't think he's going to be directing the third one anymore. Right. And I remember Chris Pine was doing an interview where he said, I hope he comes back, because no one can do this but him. See, like, and this is different from the whole Star Wars thing, because I know, like, they kind of rewrote Star Trek, but they did it in a way that is in the same universe, because they did the whole time travel thing, right?
And that's the exact same thing that's going to happen with Star Wars.
If they do the whole time travel thing...
well, I'm not saying that exactly, but I mean...
But if they do that, I'm going to be like, J.J. Abrams, you don't have any ideas going in your head right now.
Well, what else is he going to do?
I don't know.
Lens flare.
Exactly.
Lens
just
for the movie.
A lot of lens flare, and then it goes to... Then it's the sequel. But like
lightsaber lens flare everywhere.
It's funny because I have a problem with J.J. Abrams just because he does good sci-fi. Like he's an excellent sci-fi director, right? Like it's funny because I'm even in the middle of watching it because I kind of stopped. Well, I was watching Fringe. I watched the whole first season of Fringe. I don't know if you guys watched it.
I've seen one episode of it. That's with Joshua Jackson, right? Charlie Conway?
I don't know.
From the Ducks movies?
Maybe. I've actually never seen the Mighty Ducks movies. I know it's a Canadian sin.
Why?
It's just one of the ones that I didn't get around to. But anyway, he was what was I gonna say? He had a big part of that in the first season, and the first season was awesome. Like, well, I'm still watching it, but it's over now. But I'm in the middle of watching the rest of the series, and it's really good, but he just sort of abandoned it. Like, it was still Bad Robot that did it, but it wasn't him. And it's still a good series. Don't get me wrong.
But you can tell it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to worry me about Star Trek. Because, like, Will, you and I have decided we're going to see this movie in IMAX.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go, like, day one, we're going to go see this in IMAX. Because I am not looking forward to any other movie this year besides Star Trek Into Darkness. Because it looks so freaking cool.
And
it seems like J.J. Abrams just has a bit of, like, ADD sort of deal, where he's just like, ooh, let's do this series, and he goes over and he's like still working on it, and then he moves over, he's like, ooh, something over here, and then he works, but he still has the series undergoing, and they're like, Mr. Abrams, can you come back over here? And he's like, ooh, no, Star Wars, and then, I don't know, that's just the way it seems to me, that he just moves.
Well, yeah, and I I'm gonna be shocked if he directs the third Star Trek movie. I want him to. Because he's put this like really big stamp on it, and it's clearly a J.J. Abrams movie. Like, these are clearly J.J. Abrams films, and if he doesn't direct the third one, it's going to be so, like, you're just going to see how different it is. Like, the odd person who doesn't know that J.J. Abrams is directing it is just going to watch and be like, oh yeah, it's pretty good. But like, for someone like me and Will, or Will and I, if you guys hate horrible grammar. We're gonna see the movies and we're gonna know right away that it's not the same. It would be like if Christopher Nolan did not direct the third Batman
this time.
What, Will?
Because like
Nothing.
there were talks that Nolan would not direct The Dark Knight Rises, and people were getting really worried about that. And Nolan had like a good reason. He's like, because no one has ever done a good third movie. And I think
that trend continues with The Dark Knight Rises.
but he just has to look 2 years ago and look at Toy Story 3.
Yeah, but that was how long apart? You can't...
That's true. But no, The Dark Knight Rises was pretty good, but this is what I was saying. Like
It was
knew
definitely...
it was Nolan.
It was not The Dark Knight. That's for sure.
Oh, no. The Dark Knight was 1,000 times better, but that's a whole different story. But what I'm trying to get is that you could tell it was Christopher Nolan who did this movie. It was nobody else. And for that new Superman movie coming out, Man of Steel, they're pushing it as a Christopher Nolan movie, but he's not even directing it. He's producing it. The guy who's directing it directed, what's it called? Sucker Punch. And Watchmen, I believe. Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder?
Yeah,
he did
he's directing
300 too. I don't know. People hate on his movies, and
some of them are pretty good.
I became a big fan. I saw The Watchmen, and I liked it. I was intrigued by it, and I knew that there was a graphic novel behind it, and I read it, and then I watched the extended cut, the director's cut of The Watchmen, which is 3.5 hours long. And it was good, but the graphic novel is 1,000 times better. It's awesome. And I became like, and I don't know, he did a good job with it. He did as good of a job as you're going to do with The Watchmen, but I don't know, it didn't really reach out to a lot of people, right? And I guess it's the same with 300 and Sucker Punch especially. I've never seen Sucker Punch, but I didn't mind 300. A lot of people had a problem with it, but I didn't mind it.
But, like, you guys get what I'm saying, though, right? Like, if you look at any trailer for Man of Steel, it's, like, pushing, like, from the creator of The Dark Knight and Inception. And anyone who knows a lot about, like, Christopher Nolan and all that, you can just tell by this movie it's trying to be a Christopher Nolan movie, but you could tell it's not.
It's not going to work.
It's not. And this, like, if Abrams does not direct the third Star Trek movie because he's moved on to Star Wars and he's only like a producer, it's going to be the same thing over again. The people who don't know about who's directing it are going to look at it and just be like, it's a good movie, but like Will and myself and other Star Trek fans, we're going to be like, no, it's just not the same because clearly not enough lens flare, not enough camera shaking.
There was also the problem even before that with Tarantino, and it was like anything that, like, basically if it was like if Tarantino said a word about this movie, it was like, oh, written like from the mind of Quentin Tarantino, right? But then he had nothing to do with it. There was what was it? Anything that Eli Roth did was like the first. Like,
wait,
like
what about
Hostel? Hostel was marketed as Quentin Tarantino had something to do with that movie, and he might have had a little bit, but it wasn't his movie.
He might have been a creative consultant.
Yes,
What
and it was
about-
also Sin City.
Danny Trejo.
Sin City.
Yes, I heard about that as well. Yeah,
He had more than they let on to do with that movie, but it wasn't his movie.
I think he was like a special guest director or something like that.
Yes. But
But he
the
wasn't
movie
the-
wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for him, because he basically like funded it and got it like it was on its deathbed.
Yeah. And you know what? That's why if Abrams doesn't direct it, this movie's still going to sell, because they're going to market it as a J.J. Abrams film, even though he's only producing it. And this is why Man of Steel is getting so much buzz. Like, the movie looks awesome, I'm not going to lie. Like, I've seen trailers for Man of Steel, and it looks really good. But for someone who, like, was a huge fan of Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises, it's not a Christopher Nolan movie. Also a big fan of Inception, but...
Do people...
Those were...
So,
Nope.
I was going to say,
on.
do people still care about Superman? Like, honestly.
They're trying to get people to care again.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They're trying to get people to care, and it's working because they're pitching it as Christopher Nolan is doing this movie when he's not.
I don't even mean, like, who's doing the movie or anything like that. I mean Superman as a character. Like, yeah, alright, he might have been, like, the first superhero or something like that, right? But he's an immortal demigod that nothing can basically kill him.
And apparently everyone who lives in Metropolis is really frickin' stupid. Because all he does is put on glasses.
Yeah. But I mean,
And then
like...
he's Clark Kent.
And now we see the trend of characters, superheroes who have a problem, Like, Bruce Wayne almost couldn't be Batman in The Dark Knight Rises. Tony Stark is an alcoholic, right? And then we have,
so
like,
he's Robert Downey Jr.
Bruce Banner can't, like, he has to live with this other creature. And I get that these are older themes, too. But I mean, like, superhero genre has grown since the 30s or whenever it was that Superman was invented, right? It's become more complex. And we've seen that. I don't think it's a coincidence that those characters that have depth to them, or more depth than Superman, are still existent today.
Again, that's what they're trying to do with this whole Man of Steel movie. It's like it's meant to look like it's supposed to be similar to Batman Begins, where it rewrites rewrites the Superman story and gives him a more realistic feel. Which personally, like you said, he's like an immortal demigod. I don't buy it.
Yeah, but what problems is he gonna have? Like, oh no, Lois Lane's doing something. Oh no, bad things are happening with that. Let's talk about that for an hour and a half.
In trouble. The game's
sequels.
on. I can probably watch this game and still get her. That's good. But
I feel like this is something we should be saving for another Nerdcast.
No, we got to get this over with now because I'm going to be so pissed if we dedicate this whole thing to it.
Okay.
It's going to be a long Nerdcast, and I apologize, listeners, if you're listening to this after midnight. Yeah, come on. We have the leverage to do whatever the hell we want right now. But if you're listening to this past midnight, don't recommend it because you're gonna be up till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I am worried and anxious to see how this all plays out because like I remember when they were announcing like the rumors of who was going to direct the new Star Wars movie. There was rumors of J.J. Abrams. I think he was like the first one, but everyone said no, he won't direct it because he's doing Star Trek, and it would just be weird when you have two of the biggest science fiction franchises ever, and the same guy directing both of them. And then there was the rumor that Joss Whedon was going to direct Star Wars, and that like. Part of me got excited for that.
If Joss Whedon directed Star Wars, he would kill off R2-D2 in the first.
And he would rip our heart out while doing it. It would be the best death scene ever.
Oh yeah, there'd just be oil flying everywhere.
Slow motion, like soft music going in there. But
it's like the opening crawl of Star Wars, and it just breaks to R2-D2 dying.
But like, so there was all these rumors about who was going to direct it, and the first thing that came to my mind was if it's either Joss Whedon or J.J. Abrams, shit's going to go down because if Joss Whedon's doing it, what's going to happen to the Avengers? And if J.J. Abrams does it, what's going to happen with Star Trek? But like right after I thought that, I immediately thought to myself, J.J. Abrams would not do this. A month later, boom, J.J. Abrams set to direct Star Wars trilogy, and I remember reading that article for the first time. I was on Twitter, and I saw the trend was J.J. Abrams, and I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, maybe there's a new Star Trek trailer, so I can get excited again. And I click on the trend, and it's J.J. Abrams set to direct Star Wars trilogy, and it was just one of those where like, it's like total size, and then I started reading it all, and I was just like, the whole time I was just thinking, like, no, finish Star Trek, finish it. You have something great here, and you're throwing it all away for something that's gonna suck. But that's another thing. It's probably not gonna suck.
Well, like I said with the Star Wars, it's gonna be a bad Star Wars movie, but it's not gonna be a bad movie.
No, it's gonna be a great sci-fi movie. But in terms of the lore for Star Wars, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be shit. Sorry, JJ, I love you, but no, don't.
We can't be hurting that bad for sci-fi directors. There's only like 3 that we can think of off the top of our head that are directing all the movies that come out.
Yeah.
Who are the big 3 right now? No, there's Ridley Scott, Michael Bay, and J.J. Abrams.
Michael Bay. Just explosions. Explosions aren't movies.
Star Wars, just for like 2 seconds.
What?
Imagine Michael Bay as the director of Star Wars.
Let's blow up a space station. Oh, wait.
He remakes Episode 4. That's no moon.
The entire movie is just the Death Star exploding repeatedly.
Let's blow up some planets. Oh, wait.
Ball on. And then rewind and do it again. But I'm sorry, I got so like into this, I totally forgot the original question.
We were talking about the Star Wars sequels, and I guess we could talk about what do you think of like a Portal or a Half-Life movie?
It's gonna be the reintroduction of the silent film.
Yeah, I mentioned it the other day. It would be great because I think Lee, it was you who said like an epic confrontation between like Gordon Freeman and Chell. Put them in the same room, and it would just be like 10 minutes of back and forth camera shots between them.
No dialogue whatsoever.
Chell holding the portal gun, Freeman holding the gravity gun or the crowbar. Not a single word is spoken.
It just pans to another character, and he's just like, you know what? You both raise good points, but this isn't solving anything.
But you know what I just thought of? If they do make a Half-Life or Portal movie, it means that we'll get a video game with a 3 on it.
I think you're pushing your luck there a little bit too
No,
much.
I'm not. I'm being hopeful.
I could see them for like, say, a Portal movie. They do a prequel, or they do like Ratman.
I could probably see the Ratman story, yeah.
I'd like to
'Cause,
see the history, even though we kind of got it in Portal 2, but like more of Cave Johnson and the history of aperture science and stuff like that. I think they could do that.
When life gives you lemons.
Burn Life's house down.
Yeah.
With the lemons.
But no, the Portal movie I can see working because you don't necessarily need to use Chell. Because like she's a great protagonist, but the star of that show was GLaDOS.
Yeah, as long as there's a GLaDOS cameo.
Yeah, maybe like it can show like the beginnings of them developing the artificial intelligence and developing the aperture science handheld portal device. But with Half-Life, it's all Gordon Freeman, so you would have to do like you got a lot of work to like if you're the screenwriter for that movie, you're gonna be pulling your hair out trying to find a way to make this movie work.
And if you would like to see the Portal prequel, please go see Pacific Rim in theaters soon.
That you will not be in the movie.
I keep seeing pictures of like, well, there were people before saying like the best person to play Gordon Freeman would be Bryan Cranston, and they took pictures of like him in Breaking Bad and like because it looks like almost identical to Gordon Freeman with glasses on and stuff like that.
I heard Hugh Laurie was pretty good.
But so I don't think the casting would be a problem if he would be that. But then again, you're kind of wasting the acting talent if he doesn't have any dialogue.
Yeah.
He just has to look. I don't even know how he has to look.
I just like what I was saying before is like this. Any screenwriter who wants a challenge should take on this movie. Because they're going to be like writing the script, and then they're going to get to a dialogue scene, and like they're just going to be so frustrated with like, do I give him a voice? Do I actually make him talk? Do I creative way to make him just look totally badass and not say a line at all?
And then again, that also brings into the thought of like how video game movies have done. It was like, do we make a good movie based on the setting, or do we make something that'll please fans of the video game? Right?
I was thinking about this earlier, like when they were talking about this. There are very few video games that can work as movies, but I do firmly believe Portal would work great as a movie.
Yeah. Portal's got enough backstory that we don't quite know enough about.
I don't think Half-Life would make a great movie.
No.
Because of the whole like silent character and all that. But at least with Portal, like the main character is not Chell, it is GLaDOS.
Yeah.
Like other games I thought of, like you could make Shadow of the Colossus a movie. That would be a good movie.
That'd be a really good movie.
You could just, because the story is so simplistic.
Sure,
But-
it could be a good movie, theoretically.
Yeah, you just only have 5 Colossi instead of 16. Let's not make it Lord of the Rings.
Except if you made Journey into a movie, it would be like Genova Chen would just try to find some interesting way to watch the movie that's totally different.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it would win every award. But yeah, I would love to spoil it. I would love that.
I think that, in conclusion, J.J. Abrams has way too much shit on his plate right now.
He's gonna go into deep depression when this is all over.
Like, what do I make next? I need more space.
I've done everything. I have done 2 different universes. I am the master of multiple universes.
Now I will dethrone Joss Whedon from his Hollywood crown.
We see a Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel Universe crossover.
Okay, I can just imagine a year from now, Paramount sells Star Trek to Disney. I'm calling it right now. Paramount's just like, well, J.J. Abrams, you can do whatever the hell you want now, so we're going to sell it all to Disney and make them do everything. Spock is an action hero. Spock becomes a member in Kingdom Hearts.
Like a buddy cop movie with...
Spock and Luke.
R2-D2 and Spock.
No, it would have to be, wait,
Spock and
who was the... Was it Data that was the android?
Yeah.
Data and C-3PO?
Data? The Wacky Adventures of Data and C.
It reminds me of the video you showed us, Will, of the Wacky Adventures of Legion and Friends or something like that. It's like a Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah.
Alright, I think we've covered enough.
Yeah, this has been a long episode.
Come on.
Listeners, it is 11:27 where we are right now. We first started this Skype call at about 10 after 9.
No, it was like 22:09 or 22.
No,
10.
Will and I...
Yeah, it wasn't that early. But anyway,
Start recording till like...
I hope you enjoyed 20 episodes up so far, and I hope we can stay for at least 20 more.
More than 20. Every week.
And our one listener, tell your friends.
Our favorite listener, you should inform other people. And but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you for listening and watching, or whatever it is you classify this as. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.